Before we get to this week's episode of Business Over a Brew, let me tell you about my friends at Roberts Motors. You know, one of our favorite episodes here on the show was when we had a chance to sit down with Sam and John Roberts. If you haven't had a chance to watch that episode, go back and take a look at it. It's great to see the interaction between not only two business partners, but of course father and son as well. They really epitomize what a local business is all about. Number one, doing business the right way, giving back to the community. If you have a chance, you may not buy a car from there, but at least give them the opportunity. Shop robertsmotors.com. You get more at Roberts Motors Ford. More selection, more value. Each vehicle they sell comes with the Roberts Rewards Value Package, which includes oil changes for 2 years, loaner cars, car washes, and much more. Get more at Roberts Motors Ford. Check them out at robertsmotors.com. Now enjoy this week's episode of Business Over a Brew. Welcome to Business Over a Brew, the show where we talk business with some of the Riverbend's most interesting and influential business leaders, all while enjoying a nice brew from the Great Rivers Tap and Grill inside the Best Western Premier Hotel in Alton. Today we'll talk with Jason Brunaugh, owner of Brunaugh Construction and Design. Jason is the first ever repeat guest on Business Over a Brew, but we're not here to talk about his company today. We're here to talk about a nonprofit agency called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Jason recently founded the Alton chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a nonprofit that builds bunk beds for kids that don't have a place to sleep. Their motto, no child sleeps on the floor in our town. So let's get to it. It's the Business Over a Brew podcast from the Great Rivers Tap and Grill inside the Best Western Premier Hotel in Alton. Welcome to Business Over a Brew. I'm your host, Nick Darr. Pleased to be joined by our first ever repeat guest on Business Over a Brew, Jason Brunaugh. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I joked that all you have to do to be a repeat guest on this show is start a nonprofit, because though you are the owner of Brunaugh Construction, that's not exactly what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about a new nonprofit that you started, at least a chapter of that nonprofit called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Tell us a little bit about what Sleep in Heavenly Peace is and what it does.
Sure. Sleep in Heavenly Peace, put simply, is we build bunk beds for kids that don't have beds or that are in a condition that's could be improved. And so I was able to start a chapter for our Alton area and the Riverbend area of a nationwide organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So I am the chapter president for Sleep in Heavenly Peace, Alton, Illinois chapter.
How did I know this? I like the story of how you got interested in this, and I know you were doing some work as the owner of Brunaugh Construction and kind of saw a need through that avenue.
Sure. I feel at this stage of my life, I'd been searching for something to get involved in. And also, after being in business for 5 years, I was looking for something that our company could get involved in that I could share with my employees and do on a regular basis. And so a couple years ago, I was doing some inspections for some low-income housing around the Madison County area. And we were inspecting them for HUD improvements and HUD inspections. And during those inspections of about 300 apartment units, I saw the conditions of a lot of kids that really hit me pretty hard. And so went home and talked to my wife a lot about it and really wanted to help those kids around Christmas time that I saw that really had nothing but a pile of clothes in the room to sleep in. And so after seeing that, really had a lot of passion and drive to look to help them as best I could.
I asked you during the last episode that, what did your wife say when you just told her you were opening your own business, and she said something that still sticks out to me, that you've never failed at anything before, and she trusted you. So similar reaction to this?
I think she's got more trust after 5 years of being in business, but she still thinks I'm a little crazy for investing the amount of time that it's going to take to make this successful.
Well, I think you're going to be rewarded for it in some way, shape, or form. Certainly, I know that's not why you're doing it, but so many of us take for granted, I think, just simple, everyday things like having a bed. And it probably was eye-opening to you to realize that not everybody has that.
It was. It's something that people don't really think about that's a problem in your area. It's not discussed or that you would ever really know. But I think the surprise of most chapters that get started is how much need there is in your area. I talked to a lot of chapter presidents in the training and development of our chapter, and they've been doing this for a couple years, and they'll still have 100 applications for beds sitting waiting for beds to be delivered. And that's after they've delivered hundreds of beds over the course of the year.
So you've jumped in with both feet, obviously. I know a big part of it was going to Idaho, I believe, for training. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
So the organization started in 2012. Luke and Heidi Mickelson started this chapter in their garage just as a service project as they saw a need for a family over a Christmas holiday. And they started in the Twin Falls, Idaho area. And now, 7 years later, they are over 200 chapters across the nation that they have started and helped build the system that they need to take it to their town. And so I did the training that's required to start your chapter at their headquarters in Twin Falls, Idaho. And we delivered beds, we made beds, we got everything that we needed to bring it back to our town and help support the mission of no kid sleeps on the floor in our town.
And we'll try to put a link to some of the videos that you've shared on your Facebook page and on the Sleep in Heavenly Peace Facebook page. But man, they just tug at the heartstrings when you see the reaction of these kids getting a bed for maybe the first time in a long time, maybe the first time ever.
Definitely, the videos put it in such good perspective of when we're doing a build day or we're volunteering. That's a great aspect. But when you get to go on a delivery and you see how a kid reacts just from something as simple as a bed, it really, really makes you feel like I would do anything for these kids. And seeing that, there's things that we're not thinking of that are a big part of everybody's life that they need.
Yeah, I think it represents certainly a lot more than just pieces of wood and a mattress. And it's like it represents safety for these kids, a place where they can go. Maybe their world around them is in chaos, but there is a safe place they can go.
Yeah, it's well proven in studies that they've done that somebody who has a good night's sleep when they're growing up is going to perform better in school. They're going to have a better attitude, and that safety and security of something that that they have and they can go to every night and know that they've got a safe place to sleep.
So it's happened pretty fast. Things have happened pretty fast for the chapter.
Wow,
Talk
yeah.
about where it started and where we're at now.
Sure. So I started, the training was in the end of November. Before the holidays, Christmas holiday, I wanted to come. I was really motivated, wanted to get back, and before everybody started focusing on Christmas, so I had an informational night in the area at a local restaurant and talked to friends and family to try to start spreading as much awareness as possible about the cause. And also start the donation process, because without donations for a nonprofit, we can't help anybody.
Sure.
And so after that, I had 10 of my friends and family come and say, I want to be a bigger part and join my inner team to help on a regular basis support our cause. After that, we continued to raise funds and actually did our first build at the end of January next to my office, where we had 51 volunteers and we ended up building 14 beds in a day.
That had to be a little bit of a nerve-wracking day for you, I'm sure, as being the first one, thinking, how's this all going to come together? And what were some of the challenges of that?
Sure.
We'll start with that. But
my construction background helped a lot.
Sure.
I was never intimidated by how to build the bed.
Right.
The first video that I watched, how to build the bunk beds, I said I could do that, but I've been overwhelmed with the amount of work in organizing the volunteers, coordinating the lumber, getting everything ready for that build day. It was a lot more than I thought it would be, but it doesn't feel like work. So
Right.
As we train my inner team, those builds are going to become easier and easier, and we'll get better and better at it.
And having 51 volunteers, and you want to send each of them home with a feeling of, I accomplished something today, I really helped out. That's a little bit challenging to coordinate, I would imagine.
It is, but that's one of the other aspects of this cause is, yes, we're supplying bunk beds to kids that need the beds, but the volunteer aspect is so huge, and it's a rewarding experience when you get to come to a build day and sand the lumber and assemble it on site, and by the end of the day you see a stack of rough framing lumber turn into a finished bunk bed. It's very rewarding. And we try to limit to about a 3-hour period, and that way people want to come back and spread the awareness and really want to get more involved in the cause.
How many beds did you build in that first build?
14 bunk beds, so it'll help 28 kids get off the floor.
And those are completed, ready to go?
Ready
so
to be
what's the
delivered.
next step with those?
We put them into our inventory, and then we have an application process that's done through the website, shpbeds.org. So anybody can go apply for a bed that's in need. The requirements are you have to be between 3 and 17 years old to receive a bed. Once it goes through our headquarters, through the corporate website, the chapter presidents decide the order in which the beds go out, and we vet each application to make sure it's somebody that's in need. But then after we have the inventory and the stock to go out, we schedule those deliveries based on the applications and try to get them out as quickly as possible to people in need.
And it's not just other people can, I guess, is nominate the right word, or apply for a bed for someone else. Yeah.
You don't. So you can apply for somebody else. It's a very sensitive topic, and some people may be too proud.
Right.
Or a fireman or police officer could go into a situation, and he could apply for somebody in need. I'm also working with local organizations, social workers, so that they know how to apply for people on site. It's a very quick process. It doesn't take a lot of time. There's no economical criteria that you have to meet or fall below to receive a bed. We don't judge the family. It's all focused on the kids and making sure if they need a bed, we're going to get them one.
And it's everything. It's the bed, it's the mattress, it's the bedding even.
Yeah, and we assemble them on site.
Right.
So the headboards and the footboards and the side rails are all independent pieces. We know who we're delivering to, so we try to get the bedding. If it's a 5-year-old boy, we try to get the bedding for him that's going to be something he would like. But we assemble it on site with the mattress, pillows, comforter, and blankets.
And I know you've gotten great support from individuals. Also, a couple of organizations and companies have really been a big help to you as well.
Yeah, you talked about the speed in which all this is happening, and I've been very amazed by that. With just in a couple months, we've had our first build. We have funding for another build coming up, and we have some local organizations that have already stepped up that I hope to be able to announce very shortly that are going to help with a physical location for our organization to be in a building full time, setting up a workshop space, storing our inventory, and helping more people.
And other organizations have helped up. I know with Lowe's with tools, and Fisher Lumber's been a big help as well.
Fisher Lumber has already donated lumber to one of our builds, and Lowe's has continued to give us discounted pricing and helping us on our tool purchases, which was about a $4,000 retail purchase just to get the tool package together for our build days. And then Lowe's continues to help with any lumber we want to purchase at a discounted rate.
So talk about, you mentioned how quickly it's happened. You feel more relaxed or more stressed after getting into it a little bit deeper?
More motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I was more nervous to sit here and talk about my company than I am today to talk about this, because it's such a great cause that there's a bigger push in my faith that is pushing me to do this, which makes it so much easier. And I'm more motivated now to help and take it to the next level.
I kind of just as a somewhat of an outside observer, just feel like there's been, you mentioned your faith, that every step of the way it feels like there's been, guidance there.
Sure. It's no secret. You know what the push is.
Right. Sure.
But there's definitely something. When I first saw the need and wanted to just help the one development that I was in, that would have helped a couple, groups of kids. And when I called Luke, the founder originally, he's a great salesman. I said, "How can I help these kids?" And he said, "Well, you need to start a chapter." And I said, "Well, I'm not ready to take that on."
Right. Yeah.
And he said, "No, you need to
I'm
start a
running
chapter."
business. I've got kids. Yeah.
And so that something like that usually would have gone away after a couple months or a couple weeks and lost interest, but something continued to push me, and I kept digging into it and never let it go.
What do you see for the immediate future, and maybe for the future 3 to 5 years down the road for the chapter?
Sure. Our goal this year is to build 200 bunk beds. And based on what we're already doing in these first couple months, I think that's very attainable. I'd like to see sustainability, because it's not just something that we can get excited about this summer, build a couple hundred beds, and the need is going to go away.
Right.
This is something that will have to be sustained in our area for years to come. I'd like to spread enough awareness to get a number of small businesses that want to sponsor a build once a month, so that we have that sustainability and support in the community, that we can continue to build beds and get them out to the people that need them every year.
I think there was a little bit of maybe a misconception about doing a build day and how people can get involved. Businesses can sponsor a build day, but you need individual help as well.
Sure. Anybody can help. So
Right.
The individual, a family member, an organization, a small business, a corporation. at any level we can use your help. So the individual can donate on our website a pillow. So if they wanted to donate $10 and provide pillows for beds, or they wanted to provide a blanket, we put a monetary value on the bunk beds completely, all mattresses, bedding, and everything included, at $350 per bunk.
And so that's 2 beds, I think,
two
if I
beds,
remember correctly.
for a bunk bed. And so that's one way they can help, is the donation. They can also help in the volunteering. We're going to have closed builds that are sponsored by corporations and businesses, but we're also going to have open build days, and our first one will be in March. I'll be announcing a date that we have the funding so that we're going to supply all of the lumber for that day and just have an open volunteer day and get as many people as we can in the community to help. After that, the small businesses and organizations can individually or group together to support a sponsored day. And so a sponsored day we try to limit to a minimum of 20 bunks being built. So they would sponsor the monetary donation for supporting that build day, and also the volunteer base, which would be about 50 plus volunteers to support a 20 bunk build day.
One of the cool things I saw from the pictures of the first build day was people of all ages and all backgrounds were there helping out. I know there is a minimum age that you have to be, but that was a pretty cool part of it, I thought.
It definitely is. A 12-year-old volunteer that has no construction experience can help on our build day. There is many of our stations that are set up to build it and do different aspects of the beds that they can really help out, and we're going to train them. That's something that our inner team does. Our inner team is walking around and helping each station and each volunteer be comfortable with something that they've never done before, and also enjoying the experience that they're going to help build those beds in that day.
Maybe creating a future president of a chapter in a neighboring community, so you don't have to cover such a big area.
That is, yeah. We're covering a lot of Madison County and Jersey County solely.
Right.
And my hope is that eventually somebody in the Jersey County area would want to start up their own chapter. I'm concerned that once we start getting the word out and people are aware that we're giving away these beds, that the need is going to be greater than I can do on my own in one chapter.
Right. Right. If people want more information on how they can help out or volunteer or donate, where can they go?
The best place to look for the most current information is Facebook. We're taking advantage of the free advertising on Facebook right now,
Sure.
and spreading awareness and getting as many friends and family aware of the cause. So our Facebook page is a great place to go. You can search Sleep in Heavenly Peace Alton, and it should show up. And also the website, shpbeds.org.
If there are people out there watching that are not digital people or don't want to go to Facebook, is there a phone number or a traditional method they can contact you at?
Sure, they can call my office at 618-433-8811, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody. I'll meet with any individual or groups to spread awareness on the cause.
Great. Well, Jason, thanks so much for joining us, being the first ever repeat guest on Business Over Brew. I know that's an honor that you'll really wear with pride.
I'm going to get a shirt made.
Sure, yeah. Only repeat guest. Jason Brunaugh, owner of Brunaugh Construction, and maybe even more importantly, president of the Alton chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.